Hello, Merry Christmas and welcome to a very special DieCastRestos custom. My name is Jason and this is the Hot Wheels Volkswagen Caddy. Some of my American viewers may not be all that familiar with the Caddy. Its modern day iteration is a small commercial van, but this is the first generation produced from 1979 to 1995 and based on the Mark I Golf. As such, instead of the Caddy, this was known as the Rabbit pickup in the US. Anyway, my reasons for customising this fairly decent recreation are as follows. You may remember, if you have been following my channel for some time, my third ever video, which was a custom Matchbox BMW E30 convertible that I made to look like my brother's BMW as a birthday gift. Here's a brief glimpse of how that went, way back when, where I started to hone my detailing a little bit. Now it was far from perfect, but my brother seemed to like it, so that was a win for me. So with Christmas approaching, I decided to recreate a previous car of his as another gift. He is difficult to buy for. That has since been sold on. This is what it looked like in its inverted commas prime. He bought his Caddy from a friend, and it spent most of its time living in a garage attempting to be repaired. It was a rat-look rusty bag of bolts, but it was certainly unique. Now I have to replicate this look. This is the first time I've ever dismantled a brand new model, so I go through the usual rigmarole of taking it apart and stripping it back. Annoyingly, I broke my 1.5mm drill bit in the front post, so I had to glue this one back together at the end. Interestingly, as the Rabbit pickup, the car first appeared in the US market. It was produced at Volkswagen's Westmoreland assembly plant in Pennsylvania from 1978 until 1984. It was only introduced in Europe in 1982. This is when the Caddy name made its debut. It had several engine specs, from 1.5 to 1.8 with everything in between as diesel or petrol. Now my brother's was a 1.5 diesel, so it was far from quick, kicking out a whopping 47 horsepower. His also had a stack exhaust that left black soot marks all over the roof of the garage when working on it. The casting gets a coat of Tamiya's white fine surface primer, but only a very thin layer, as I noticed there was a minor crack in the A-pillar. I like how the embossed tailgate still features on the model as the Caddy in real life. Here's a closer look at that cracked pillar. I simply apply some Humbrol model filler to the split to seal it over. It's not causing any structural weakness particularly. Once dried, I will file and sand it down, but here I'm just gently filing away a couple of the other small imperfections. Again, it was a bit lumpy around the tailpipe cutaway. Rather remarkably, the Caddy was produced in South Africa until 2007 in its original code Type 14 form. Once it had been re-primered, I give it a coat of Tamiya TS26 Pure White. My brother's car was far from pure white, but I'm doing this custom as a kind of idealised version of the Caddy, maybe with some more investment, perhaps less rust. The outcome is what it could have looked like. To replicate the rust-coloured bottom half of the Caddy, I tape off the upper section with some 3M tape and masking tape. I decided to not use clear coat at this stage to try and reproduce the slightly rough finish the Caddy had. The lines on the red paint were a little wonky. Here I coat the plastic pickup bed in primer. I then apply some silver paint to make it look slightly more similar to the diamond plated metal that the real thing had. For the rusty red, I used Tamiya TS33 Dull Red. The Hot Wheels Caddy was introduced in 2015, joining the off-road Hot Trucks range. It initially came in orange or a metallic silver with Tampo headlights, tail lights and Hot Wheels logo on the tailgate. There have since been some more releases in different colours and styles. Once the paintwork has dried, I can begin to replicate the real life details. I paint the front end entirely black In line with what you see here, I used Tamiya X1 for all black components. I was glad to see after the paint that the pitting had disappeared from the bonnet. The orange paint on the original was very thin. I don't think the quality was all that good, only on this particular model. I do have another that is in much better condition and will be staying in its original orange. Again, once that black has dried, I move on to using the Molotow chrome paint pen to highlight the headlamps and badge. I also apply some to the tail lights prior to painting them orange and red. Here I use a touch more black to paint in the tape covering the headlights and to pick out the divots in the casting on the VW badge. I then do the door handles as well. As a nod to the model's beginnings, I paint the skateboard on the bed orange, before adding some black to the ends of the trucks to represent the wheels. I then use the X6 orange and X7 red on the chrome tail lights to match those of the Caddy. My brother sold his Caddy a couple of years ago. It was a bit of a project car, but required too much time, money and attention to get it to where he wanted. This was then replaced by the E30 BMW that has proved much more successful. Next, I paint the rear bumper black. Although not representative of his Caddy with the stack, I chromed up the exhaust connected to the plastic base. Where the front bumper had been removed by a prior owner, I painted in the white markings left that you can see on the real thing. I then apply Citadel Gloss Nuln Oil to all of the dull red painted aspects to darken and give a dirtier, more raw look to it. It looked particularly good on that tailgate with the raised lettering. Finally, I reassemble the model, although it wasn't final. I missed putting in the windscreen, which because I broke my drill bit meant I had to break the model apart as I'd glued it shut without it. But it needed to be done and it all came together eventually. So here's a quick glimpse of the brand new model I started with. You can see there's an odd finish on the hood, but barely notice that crack in the A-pillar. It's a nice casting of a modified VW Caddy, lowered with flared wheel arches. It's my first Hot Wheels mod and I've enjoyed doing it. So here is what this once clean Caddy looks like now. It's in a totally new shade, with the garish orange gone, replaced with a clean white. This is offset by the rough repaint on the lower portion, which of course was intentional to replicate the dodgy paintwork on the real thing. I've painted in the headlights, tail lights, badge and door handles, as well as the entirely black frontage, and paid homage to the Hot Wheels original orange with that skateboard. The dull red was further enhanced with Citadel to make it look raw and dirty, and the wheels were re-chromed as the paint on those disintegrated almost entirely while dismantling. As I said before in the BMW video, I hope my brother likes it. He is notoriously difficult to buy for, but I can't keep up this gift making for long unless he starts buying more varied cars. As this video is going out Christmas Day, he will hopefully have opened this gift by now rather than seeing the video on YouTube beforehand. Anyway, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for watching. I hope you have a great Christmas and New Year, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.